Hello YouTube, this is my tier list for Kid Cudi's album Entergalactic, which came out this year, and I've had some time to go through the songs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rank them in tiers from S all the way down to F, so you guys can get a rough idea of how well I like the songs and which ones I like and which ones I don't like from the album. Just a reminder too that these ratings are within the context of the album, so for example like an S tier grade might not necessarily mean that the song is S tier overall. Likewise, a C tier grade might not necessarily mean that the track is just a C tier overall if I do really enjoy the album. So without further ado, let's start off with the first track, Angel. So Angel is pretty good. It's definitely a lot better when watching the Netflix series. It's used really effectively there when the character Jabari first meets Meadow. Within the album, it sounds a bit more like an interlude. I really like the stripped back production. It's quite simplistic, but probably didn't need to be as long as it was. Kid Cudi's singing's very good. He sounds very, very nice on this track, but overall it is just kind of an average song. So I'm gonna put Angel in C tier. Alright, next track, Borrow, the bonus track. Borrow is a little tricky to rate. I do like the production, it's a bit more EDM focused, thanks to the feature of Steve Aoki. Dr. Genius does a great job as well on the production. I love the humming that features in the chorus, it sounds very good. As a bonus track, it doesn't really fit the album all that well. Like, there's no real narrative going on here. Doesn't really need to be included on Entergalactic. It feels like it was kind of shoehorned in because Cudi didn't really know how to release it. I think it probably would have worked better as a single rather than a bonus track. I do like the track, but I'm gonna have to say D tier. For the context of the album, it is very cuttable. It's probably this first or probably second song I would cut from the album if I had to. I do enjoy listening to the song, but within the context of the album, it is skippable. Speaking of cuttable songs, Can't Believe It. Yeah, easy F tier. Can't Believe It is absolutely my least favorite track on the record. The hook is terrible. Never been a fan of those types of repetitive hooks where they just kind of repeat one phrase over and over and over again. I always find them super boring and lazy. Kid Cudi's verse is not very good. Lyrically, it's weak. There's not a lot of energy that comes through. And 2 Chainz, not the biggest 2 Chainz fan, can't say I've listened to too much of his music. His feature here, it sucks. I don't see how this links to the narrative at all. They don't really touch on the themes of love or the story that's unfolding whatsoever. The chorus is terrible, and yeah, I skip it pretty much every time I listen to the album now, and I have given it quite a few chances. Next track, Can't Shake Her. Can't Shake Her with Ty Dolla $ign is a bit of a tricky one to rate. I do really enjoy it. The hook is fantastic. I really like what Cudi does with his vocals and how he kind of builds to a higher pitch throughout the chorus. Ty Dolla $ign's really good on it. It's between B or A tier. I think I'm gonna go A tier for Can't Shake Her. I do really find it quite catchy. The next track is Do What I Want, the first single from the record. And look, if you asked me when this song first came out as a single, I probably would have put it in F tier. I'm not the biggest fan of the hook here, and this kind of more rap focused style from Cudi isn't particularly my favorite. Sometimes he pulls it off, but I wasn't a massive fan of it. However, with listening to the album more and more and watching the Netflix special, I have come to appreciate the track a little more. That being said, it's still one of my least favorite tracks on the record, and I'm gonna go high D tier, just before Borrow. I think it's a better track for Borrow. It's used quite well in the Netflix series as Jabari, the main character, and his friends are getting ready to go out, and they go out and go clubbing. Definitely fits that vibe, and it's really well done in that context. However, as an individual song, it's not one of my favorites. Alright, next we have Ignite the Love. I really do like the acoustic guitar here. Cudi's singing is nice, the humming is beautiful. What really drags it down for me is the vocal ad-libs that he does during the verse. It really drags it down. I like the chorus, I like everything else about the song, but those ad-libs, I get sick of them every time I hear them. So for that reason, it's gonna go in B tier. Probably would have been A tier without them, but yeah, they annoy me every single time. Next track, In Love. In Love's a bit of a tricky one to rate because the bridge that Cudi does with his humming, like the pre-chorus, is insane. The synthy production is amazing. I really like the synthwave style that he's got going on here. It complements the sound of the album really well. I like the chorus. The verses are probably a slight weak point. Like lyrically, they're not the best, but the song is pleasant to listen to. Like the production really carries this one. So I'm gonna go probably high B tier for In Love. It's close to A tier, but yeah, like lyrically, it's probably not quite up to standard to be in that A tier category. Next, we have Living the Truth. I thought it was Living My Truth, but I might be wrong there. This track's pretty good. It's like a throwback to old Cudi. I really like how he uses like background vocals of himself to pass back and forth between two different pitches in the verses. It's really clever. And it sounds like a throwback to like a Kid Named Cudi era Cudi, which is way back in 2008. So I think OG fans will appreciate this one. The hook's super solid. I really like the humming as well. I'm not too sure if it's a sample of anything, but like the production here, like the beat with the almost humming, but not Cudi, someone else. It sounds really good. I don't quite know what it is, but I do like listening to it. So I'm gonna put Living the Truth. I'm pretty sure it's Living My Truth, but anyway, we'll put it in A tier. Is it better than Can't Shake Her? I'll go yes. It's pretty even. Look, both of these tracks are amazing. Living My Truth probably gets out ahead for me. Next track, Maybe So. Maybe So is really, really good. Probably the most impressive beat on the entire record. It's so moody, so atmospheric. It's the most emotional track. Most of the songs are quite uplifting and positive. This one is a bit darker and a bit more serious. Lyrically, Cudi keeps it super simple, but he's so effective here. Like, he manages to say so much with very simple lyrics. Like, will he get on? Maybe so, maybe not. And the repetition of that's really nice. The violins as well, like the strings and the back end of this track sound incredible. And yeah, this is one of the most unique beats I've ever heard. And look, for that reason, in the context of the album, especially the way it's used in the Netflix series, S tier for me. Really, really good. Next track we have My Drug. Yeah, My Drug. My Drug is a little lame. It's a little forgettable, to be honest. I think a lot of the tracks towards the back end kind of drop in quality a little bit, and My Drug is definitely one of those. I do like Cudi's singing. The beat is quite good on My Drug. Lyrically though, I can't say I'm a big fan, and I'm not a huge fan of the hook here, so I'm gonna go, it's probably high D tier. It's between C and D. I'm gonna be a bit rough and harsh and put it in high D tier. Yeah, not one of my favorite tracks on the album. Next track, New Mode. Easy. S tier, my favorite track on the album, and in my opinion also the best track on the album. When I first listened to it, I loved it, but out of all of the tracks, this one has just continued to grow on me. It might be in Cudi's top echelon of tracks in his entire discography. Definitely in his top 20. The production is insane. I really, really love it. It builds so nicely. Cudi's verses here, again, really simple, but so effective. It's one of his most economical tracks in terms of his lyrics, and the hook, one of his best hooks ever, genuinely. Like, it might be in his top 10 hooks of all time. He's so good at writing hooks, and this one, I don't know, there's something about it. I love listening to this track. It's probably the most listened to song for me, and it turned out to be a fan favorite as well. And also the way it ties into the narrative, it's probably the strongest track in that regard. It perfectly sets up the character of Jabari and where he's at the beginning of the Netflix special, as this is one of the earlier tracks. Next track, we've got She's Looking For Me. Yeah, so there's two sides to She's Looking At Me. The first side is this really well constructed song that's got a nice momentum throughout. The beat's quite nice. I do enjoy the chorus. And then there's the wah 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 over and over and over again. I can't believe no one told Cudi, like, hey, maybe you should trim this down a bit, or maybe it doesn't quite sound as good as you might think it does. Him repeating why over and over again, twice in each sequence that it's used, and it's used 2 times, is just a head scratching decision, and it really drags down the track. Like, it just doesn't sound good. It's not pleasant. I think pretty much everyone kind of cringes a little bit when they hear it, and it is a shame because the rest of the track is quite solid. So I'm gonna go low C tier for She's Looking For Me. The next track, Somewhere to Fly, one of the Don Toliver features, along with Burrow. Look, I was expecting a really good track because I'm not a big fan of Don Toliver. I haven't really listened to much of his music, but on the track Moon, like, him and Cudi synergize perfectly on that track on Donda, and I went into this expecting something of similar quality, and I was pretty disappointed. He's fine, like, he doesn't do a bad job, I don't think he's utilized all that well. Like, he barely has anything to provide on the track. The hook really isn't that great. I'm not a big fan of the choruses, and I'm not a big fan of the verses here either, so Somewhere to Fly is probably one of the more forgettable tracks. I'm gonna go low C tier. I think D tier might be a little rough. Like, there's nothing really wrong with the track, it's just rather forgettable and mid, so I think C tier is probably fair for it. Next one, we have Entergalactic Theme. A little tricky rating instrumentals compared to the tracks with lyrics. It's always a bit tricky, but I really like Entergalactic Theme. Like, it sounds fantastic. I never skip it whenever I'm playing the album. It perfectly sets up, like, the kind of production style that we're going to get on the rest of the record. It's short, it doesn't overstay its welcome, it's very, very cinematic. It's used well in the show during this, like, trippy sequence where he's daydreaming. I'm gonna go A tier, low A tier for Entergalactic Theme. It's a sick instrumental. And the final track, we have Willing to Trust, the second and final single from Entergalactic. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious where this one belongs. I'm going to put it just after New Mode and ahead of Maybe So. Willing to Trust is fantastic. Ty Dolla $ign is incredible on this. His verse is amazing. Really like his lyrics, and he does actually, unlike 2 Chainz, play into the narrative of the show quite well. Him and Cudi on the hook together, perfect synergy. I mean, their voices complement each other so well. Ty Dolla $ign and Cudi have been on plenty of tracks together, but this is definitely their best performance, and the electric guitar in here is so good, especially at the back end of the track. I really like the instrumental break towards the end of the track. It might go on a little bit too long for some people, but I think when you watch the Netflix series, you really see, like, why there's such a long instrumental break and how effective it really is in conveying the kind of emotions that's going on, because it's used in a montage when Meadow and Jabari are falling in love, and yeah, I really love it. Willing to Trust is definitely one of the best tracks. And yeah, that's it. So that's my tier list for Kid Cudi's Entergalactic. Let me know what your tier list is down below. What were your favorite tracks? What were your least favorite tracks? Did I have any hot takes, or was I reasonably on the mark? Thank you for listening. This is For The Record. I'll see you in the next video.